All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wizarding Wars number 4, a Harry Potter trading card game revival event. We are playing classic format this week, guys, which means the original 5 Wizards of the Coast sets. No revival cards, no revival rules, and we've got 6 players tonight, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into the match. And for round 1 here, we have got Frank playing on the bottom, Frank Diaz, and on top is Stefan. So let's go ahead and get the names in here for you guys. And it looks like it is a Professor McGonagall mirror match. Now, Professor McGonagall is used by a lot of players for her utility. She is a great answer for adventures, which are very powerful. But she also gives you access to Transfiguration without having to play the Transfiguration lessons in your deck. So for that reason, McGonagall is actually a highly flexible starting character, and we can see a lot of different strategies that use her. It'll be interesting to see what the two different players are going to do. Seamus Finnegan coming down for Frank on his first turn. Seamus, of course, a character that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand to get 1 more action. Frank knows that actions are how you win Harry Potter, and he's trying to get himself as many of those as he can. And a nice early investment. Oh, speaking of a nice early investment, Stefan fires back with Ginny Weasley. Ginny Weasley is one of the most powerful characters in Classic. You can only play her in the Classic format now, as she has been banned in Revival. And what Ginny does is, just like how Seamus is going to try and get Frank a lot of action advantage, Ginny is here as an engine to get you a lot of card advantage. So before each of your turns, Ginny allows you to count the number of characters you have in play other than your starting character and draw that many cards. So yeah, right now it's only 1 extra card, but it's going to start to get out of hand pretty quickly. Even just, 2 to 3 extra cards a turn can really be all you need to stay with a fresh hand full of action for the rest of the game. And it looks like Frank is going to play Peeves. Peeves is a wonderful response to the Ginny coming down, since now Frank is locked out of playing his own Ginny Weasleys. He wants to make sure he still has some kind of way to fuel Seamus, because Seamus Finnegan is a little bit greedy. He's going to be asking for 2 cards from Frank's hand every turn to create an extra action. So without Ginny, who's a great pairing for Seamus, of course, he's going to want another way to get extra cards. Peeves is one way, Colin Creevy is another way. But I think something that we're seeing right out of the bat is, even though neither of these players are starting with Ron, these are more characters than we see when we see people play the Revival decks. They're just going for more of those utility characters. Self-Stirring Cauldron, one of the cards that Frank's getting rid of here because it's a little bit early to be playing those. It does require 4 Cauldron lessons to be in play, so Frank's just going to use that extra action to play the Peeves and also get to play a lesson. Now Stefan, he's just going to start building lessons, and we can see, because we can see the players' hands, we know which flavor both of these guys are going for now. Stefan might not quite be tuned into where Frank's deck is going yet, but we can see that it's this 3-color control style list, and I say control because we see deboning, which of course is a card that prevents your opponent from using actions to play any cards next turn. So it's a really powerful piece of control in the late game. And cards like Self-Stirring Cauldron or Wand Shop for Charms can really help accelerate your lessons, so you can be playing those high-cost spells much earlier. And then Stefan over here is playing a Creature Quidditch deck. So just going for that burn, you start to see, these are some of our favorite creatures actually. Black Bat, Sandstone Gargoyle, and Welsh Green Dragon, an extremely powerful creature here, which is kind of the top end of the creature deck. It starts cashing in your lessons to do instant damage. When it comes into play, it actually deals 6 damage to your opponent straight away, and then of course it's dealing 6 damage every turn. So it can get out of hand really fast. Frank drawing a deboning for turn. Now he's in a little bit of a pickle here. He does have 4, so he can use the Dobby's Disappearance. But Dobbying the Ginny now, when he doesn't have a Ginny of his own to play down, just isn't that strong for him. He might be going to empty his hand and then use the Peeves here. Probably what we're going to see. Yeah, so you discard the 2 debonings to get the extra action, puts him up to 3. He's going to Dobby's Disappearance to Ginny to get himself still 3 actions. Play the Caught by Snape to go down to 1. And then we're going to use Peeves. Discard our opponent's hand. We know we just put the Ginny in there, so kind of turn Dobby into a piece of removal, right? And what Frank doesn't know, but that we do know, is that we're hitting 3 of Stefan's Ginnies there. So even though Frank missed a Ginny, he actually has a pretty good chance of Stefan not replacing that immediately. We get to see some more of the things that Frank is doing that are the benefits of these colors. Of course, the win condition is Venomous Tentacular Juice and Dobby's Help, some combination of, slowing your opponent down, using things like deboning so they can't play cards out of their hand, and then using Venomous Tentacular Juice to make them count the number of cards in their hand and draw twice that many cards. So, as you can imagine, Venomous Tentacular Juice, it's like faster than exponential. It gets people killed real fast. Well, I guess, no, it's not. That is literally exponential. I've waited to see this combo in action, chat says. Yes, the VTJ Dobby's Help combo. So the nice thing about VTJ is it kind of does it all by itself. And you see people use different things to kind of just help it be more consistent because it is just 1 card, so you can only have 4 copies of it. So Charms gives you access to Dobby's Help, which kind of ends up being like another piece of the same kind of combo. Also, it gives you access to things like the Gringotts Vault Key to search your deck for any card, Reparo to get back those combo pieces from the discard pile, and we see Frank is running Gringotts here, which gives each opponent, each player, 1 more action on each of their turns. Platform 9 3/4, also an action advantage card that we're seeing here. You kind of see the theme. We're basically just getting a lot of extra actions to ramp up and then use all those big action turns and combo out. Stefan has a pretty good top end in his creatures between Hedwig and the Welsh Green Dragons, especially considering you can drop this Hedwig and get back a Welsh Green. So he doesn't mind solving this Caught by Snape right now. It's a nice tempo Caught by Snape for Frank. He's going to be slowing down Stefan's ability to play the Black Bats and the Gargoyles, but Stefan is smart. When he built this list, he knew he was going to be running into Caught by Snapes, and that's why he put in these top-end cards like Hedwig and Welsh Greens. They're going to be the perfect lesson counts for when you've just solved a Caught by Snape, and especially a card like Welsh Green Dragon is enough of a big thing to do with 1 action that you can solve Caught by Snape and drop at the same turn. How to try and keep that pressure up. Locations seem to be pretty rare in decks as they're easily bumped or replaced. Yeah, usually locations, it's like, it's best if you're using it the turn you play it. Gringotts is kind of one of those things that it gives you the action back the turn you play it, so it's not as bad. If they want to do something about it, you're kind of going to come out on top on actions anyway. Sam, what is this? This is the Harry Potter trading card game from Wizards of the Coast from the early 2000s. Man, we're talking like before the books were even finished being written. We're talking the movies weren't even that big yet. And we were running a little event for the revival group here. Players who like to, still jam with this old card game. They're even making some more cards for it. Fan-made cards is really cool. But tonight we're playing a classic format, which means no fan-made cards, no fan bans, no fan rules. We're playing the classic Wizards of the Coast sets. Old school playground rules here for Harry Potter. Oh, so we missed a little bit of what's going on here, sorry. Let's see if we can peek. Yeah, so we solved. Looks like Stefan solved the Caught by Snape. Jammed in the extra lessons from his hand, why not? So now he's in a good position to drop the Welsh Green Dragon. Even though Welsh Green is going to drop 2 of his Care of Magical Creatures lessons, he'll still have enough lessons to start playing the big Gargoyles and the Bats. Frank is getting close, though. He's up to 6. 1 for McGonagall, 3 Potions lessons, and 2 Charms lessons means he's basically just the a cauldron away from starting his really, really powerful high-end control cards. The Deboning and the Venomous Tentacular Juice are just waiting to be played here. Yep, and that is going to be exactly the play that we were looking at earlier. He plays a Hedwig with one of his actions and gets back a non-healing card from the discard pile. So he puts the Welsh Green Dragon into his hand because we just want a big 6/4 body creature with that nice ETB effect to deal 6 to Frank's face. Gringotts is coming down, so there's that location that Zwidar was talking about, excited to see. Gringotts is on the field. That means each player is going to get one more action, including the turn that it's played. So Frank plays Gringotts. It's a neutral action. He plays Self-Stirring Cauldron, which returns discards actually 2 of your potion lessons for a 4-lesson item, but it also is a neutral action. It gives you your action back. So we played Gringotts. We played Self-Stirring Cauldron. We're still sitting at 2 actions. We're going to play Caught by Snape with our 2 actions. And so this is exactly what Frank wants to do, right? He's got the lock-in with the Caught by Snape. He established 9 lessons. Fortunately for Stefan, his starting character is McGonagall. There's a reason that McGonagall is such a popular starting witch. Professor McGonagall is going to have the ability to break Stefan out of that Caught by Snape, and I'm sure that's going to be one of the first things we see him do next turn. Yep, there it is. As he goes to play, we see the McGonagall get tapped. That's the indication that her ability has been used, and the Caught by Snape gets removed. So Snape is in the discard pile, but Frank now knows that Stefan had to basically use his get out of jail free card. And Stefan did have the Dobby's Disappearance in his hand to bounce the Cauldron, and that's a big, big punish there. So Frank going back to the 2 lessons that he developed earlier with the Cauldron and losing the Cauldron. And that's exactly what Stefan wanted to see when he McGonagalled out. If you're going to use McGonagall, because she can only get out of an adventure once per game, if you're going to use her ability, you want to make it count. So the turn that you use her ability to break out of that adventure, while you have the boot off your throat, it's time to make a play. So Dobbying that Cauldron is pretty much the most value we could squeeze out of that turn, I think. Getting ready to drop a Welsh Green Dragon. There it is! The Welsh Green is coming down. Oh, we played Hufflepuff Match first. That's great. So Hufflepuff Match first is a match card. So it kind of gives Stefan a little quest to do. He's going to have to deal 8 damage to his opponent while the card's in play, and the reward will be that he gets to draw 5, and the opponent takes 5 more damage. So, of course, he plays that, then drops the Welsh Green Dragon. Welsh Green Dragon has the ETB to discard 2 creature lessons, deal 6 damage straight to Frank's face, and that's going to put 6 damage into the Hufflepuff match. So Stefan basically only waiting to go to his next turn to solve that match, and that's going to be another 6 plus 2 plus 5 coming in for Frank. Things are getting scary. That's half his deck, more than. I wonder if we're going to see Frank, as part of the building back up his lesson base, drop the Professor Snape, since he might need that healing. Also, both players having 3 actions a turn right now because of Gringotts can't be understated. Sorry, can't be overstated. Ha. Got it backwards. This is a tough turn for Frank because he is looking down the barrel of a 2-turn kill. And I don't see anything in the hand here, or character-wise, I don't think we saw much of the discard. Can we look at the discard? There it is. That was actually a creature answer. Normally you would see something like a Quirrell. Professor Quirrell is a great answer for creature decks. Obviously more Dobbies or getting to the Debonings a little bit faster. Frank was really close. I think he knew that he kind of had like one turn where he had to make Stefan have it. And yeah, he happened to have it. And we did see him develop the Snape, just like I thought. Snape is going to give us another potion lesson, brings us up to 5, but also gives us that heal. So we are going to go ahead and heal and start moving our best cards back into our deck, starting with Dobby's Disappearance. Again, this card is restricted in Revival for a reason. This card is absolutely insane, and this card is going to be a 4 of in most of these decks we see tonight. Just being able to choose one card in your opponent's area, just anything in play at all, and return it to their hand and get the action back, just lets you take these virtual 4 or 5 action turns in a game where both players are only supposed to have 2 actions a turn. The more actions you can squeeze, just the better and better it gets. Frank's still just choosing what he wants to put back in the deck here. Looks like deboning. That's definitely one that he wants as many of in the deck as he can. Gonna just prevent his opponent from playing any more cards, but really only super effective behind a bunch of those Dobbies, right? Because we want to be able to get these things back into Stefan's hand and then debone him so he can't play them back onto the field. Because creatures to the face is looking like it's got us on a bit of a clock here. Oh, I didn't even count Hedwig earlier, I don't think. So it's 13 damage to the face. Yeah, so Frank is just trying to go for... Actually, how many actions does he have here? Oh, no, he's discarding those to gain an action. Okay. I was going to say, is he playing Dobby's Help? How could he play Dobby's Help? Yeah, Frank only has 4 power right now, so he cannot be playing any of those high-cost cards. Looks like we might have used an action to draw a card there. We still have 1 action, I believe, for Frank. No, nope. Looks like we're just going to take the creature damage there. Maybe he didn't have an extra action, but I thought he just played the Snape and then gained for Samus and drew a card, right? So he would have 1 extra one because of Gringotts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh boy, yeah, look at that. We just have some Steel Claws here. That's Steel Claw, Steel Claw. That's going to be game right there for Frank. It looks like we're going to go into game 2. We've resolved Hufflepuff match at the beginning, so we dealt the extra 5, and we drew 5 cards off the top, and we found all of our Steel Claws. Steel Claw, the card just went off the screen, guys, so I'll just remind you what it does. It's a 4-cost Transfiguration card, and it's the win condition for creatures decks normally. It makes all of your creatures in play deal their damage to your opponent again. Normally, creatures only deal their damage to your opponent at the beginning of your turn, so right after you draw a card. So Steel Claw is able to take turns like that, where normally, oh, I'm just presenting 13 damage, and now I did 13 for the turn. I Steel Claw you, it's another 13. I Steel Claw you, it's another 13. And uh-oh, that just became 39 damage. Things escalate quickly. And for those of you guys who are joining us who might not be too familiar with the Harry Potter trading card game, the win condition is to reduce your opponent's deck size to 0, because it is also their health pool. Whenever you deal damage to your opponent, you discard cards from the top of their deck equal to the number of damage that you are dealing to them. And that's it. It's the only win condition. Alright, so turn 1 for Frank, it's going to look a lot like last game. It's going to be that turn 1 Seamus. If you're going to miss turn 1 Ginny, turn 1 Seamus isn't a bad compromise. Seamus is going to go ahead and discard some of those high-cost cards he can't play yet and get the potions. And oh my goodness, we top deck Ginny, and we are going to windmill slam her down on the table. Yeah. These a match made in heaven here. Seamus, Finnegan, and Ginny Weasley. Ginny is going to be able to pump those cards back into our hand. Seamus is going to discard the cards for extra actions. We are going to just see everything we need. And it's going to be a bit of a scary position for Stefan. And now Frank can just discard anything he's not playing this turn for actions because he knows he's refilling his hand so fast. So he just goes ahead and discards 2 more, plays the potions. Next turn, he's going to draw 3 cards, probably drop a Peeves, gain another action, put something down, and then just have all of that draw potential. So much action on his side. Stefan is doing, I think, a good answer to that. For him not having something like a Ginny of his own, not having the Dobbies in hand, so not really trying to build to those. getting to these early gargoyles, playing this gargoyle, maybe next turn another gargoyle and a lesson. This is really good for him. You just want to start not only dealing that damage to Frank and putting the pressure on, but start removing combo pieces. You want to make it so that when he uses this Peeves, it's worse for him, that he has to think about those extra 7 cards. You want to punish the fact that he's drawing so deep with Ginny. Just that extra damage early can really, really add up, especially when he's doing all of those effects that make him draw all those extra cards. So not surprised to see that Frank is going to run out Peeves, discard the other 2 cards from his hand, and play Charms and pass the turn here. Frank has had an incredible start. Playing a character and a lesson every single turn in a non-Ron deck is pretty crazy. And next turn, Ginny is just going to draw 3 cards to start the turn. We'll draw an extra one, and we'll be right back up to a hand size of 4. I mean, essentially playing the burrow over here, right? Just what are those cards like Jeeves and Hearthstone? Just those things that let you draw back up to a certain hand size. Just refilling constantly. Care Magical Creatures and Black Bat for Stefan, deciding to keep the pressure up. And, oh, actually, that's a Marble Gargoyle, not a Sandstone Gargoyle. So, yes, I agree with that play. Black Bat's going to do 2 damage straight away to Frank. Frank's going to draw 3 off of Ginny and 1 for turn, and the gas is just starting to pour in. Dobby's disappearance there on the table is going to probably get used on that Gargoyle. Looks like we're discarding 2 for Seamus. We might be discarding 2 for Seamus, Dobbying the Gargoyle, and then using Peeves. I wouldn't be surprised to see that turn. Or maybe Dobby the match, actually. Yes, we're going to Dobby the Hufflepuff match. I didn't see it over there. And we're going to use Peeves. So Frank gained an action. Dobbied for free. Peeves doesn't cost an action either. So Frank's sitting at 3 actions and a full grip of cards to play. We're up to 5 lesson power. So we're looking to get at least 2 more and start using those debonings. But we want to be wary of our opponents caught by Snapes. We haven't seen one really get played against us yet, but we have seen him discard them, so we know that they're around. And it's classic, right? Caught by Snape is going to be around. Looks like Frank is going to drop a Gringotts location to give them an extra action each turn and then play the Caught by Snape. And this is kind of the dirty thing about Gringotts in this deck, is what Frank is doing is he's using cards like Deboning and things like Caught by Snape to prevent the opponent's extra action from really meaning anything. What's an extra action on a turn where you can't use actions to draw cards, or sorry, to play cards, and your opponent's trying to, combo you out with a max hand size? Just drawing the cards doesn't seem very good in that situation. So Frank takes the damage at the beginning of the turn from Black Bat and Gargoyle, puts him down to 27, and that clock is ticking. Stefan trying to figure his way through this. He wondering if he has to solve Caught by Snape naturally, fishing for the 3rd lesson, or use McGonagall to just get out now and put the pressure down. Honestly, I think we naturally solve this Caught by Snape if we can. Frank's giving us the extra action in Gringotts, so I think that we... Man, I know it feels bad because he's sitting on 8 cards in hand, and using any actions to draw cards is always rough. But I don't hate, like, lesson draw a card. I guess I also don't hate the McGonagall here. You just have to really capitalize it. If you're assuming because your opponent isn't sideboarding, he doesn't have that creature hate. You didn't see any in game 1. So maybe you use your McGonagall, you break out of the Caught by Snape adventure. And then you just jam down Errol. Let's see, the thing is we don't even have really another Gargoyle. We don't have creatures to follow it up with that are that scary. Probably just jam down Errol, Hufflepuff match, and a lesson at that point. Keep 1 in hand. It's a tough turn for Stefan, that's for sure. Nothing quite feels as good as what he's looking down the barrel of over here. And Caught by Snape, just to remind everybody at home, Caught by Snape is an adventure that puts an effect on the opponent that says that they can't use actions to play anything that isn't a lesson card. So basically just lands, right? And the way that the opponent gets out of this lock is they use actions to play lesson cards 3 times. And the reward is they can play as many lesson cards as they would like from their hand. So basically, you're using this when you know that they're low on lesson cards or once they've already played a couple lesson cards to try and stop them from having any meaningful actions. And it's often very effective at that. So what did we do on that turn there? So it looks like we used one action to draw a card, and then we used 2 actions to play lessons. So we are 2 lessons into 3 to solve the Caught by Snape. Frank drawing for Ginny here, going to get 3 cards and then 1 for turn. He's going to discard another Ginny and another Seamus to gain an action. So that puts him at 4 actions right now. But not a lot of action in his hand. I wouldn't be surprised to see Frank drawing cards with some of his actions here. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing. And you really don't want to see another lesson. So yeah, at this point you just use 2 actions to build your next 3 actions to build lessons. Would feel really bad if your opponent answered that with a Caught by Snape. That has to be what he's thinking of as we sit here with the last lesson drop, potentially. I think you have to go up to 8, right? Come on, Frank. I have too much information, though. If I was him, I would be keeping 2 lessons in my hand to maybe get out of the Snapes. Figuring actions is the one thing that I have plenty of. But maybe looking at the 2 platforms and 9 3/4 in his hand, he does want an extra lesson or 2 on the table. So might as well drop him now. Stefan's not going to draw the punish. In fact, drawing another Errol. Having the Dobbies in his hand is nice, but I think you maybe seeing Frank's last turn being a little weak there, you Dobby the Ginny to his hand and try and slow him down. But you just can't do it until you see another lesson. So the fact that we missed another one off the top of the deck, we're top decking. We're trying to draw lessons with the actions, and this is where we had that fork in the road, right? We had to decide whether or not we wanted to use the McGonagall power, and like I said, I wasn't sure which one was right. I really wasn't sure which I would do. They were both pretty tough spots to be in, and now you've got this sunk cost kind of thing going on where you've already used 2 lessons to solve Caught by Snape, and you've already used some actions to draw cards looking for it. So if you're going to McGonagall anyway, why wouldn't you have done it before? So now you're really resistant to the idea of McGonagalling. Like you're just not, you're not even thinking about it. You're thinking about how you definitely aren't doing that. But it's still maybe looking okay when you got to do something. Giving this combo deck all this time, he's a venomous away from a victory. And Stefan knows that. Stefan knows he's got a big ol' hand, and that VTJ is the win con in that deck. He knows that Frank's up to the requisite number of lessons here any minute, and has the actions to spare. So he has 3 actions, and he used 2 of them to draw cards from the deck. So I think this is gonna be, maybe we just draw 1 more action and pass. No, we are going to McGonagall out. I think he's trying to just stop from losing. He's gonna Dobby here, no doubt. Actually, I would platform first. Platform 9 3/4. Get rid of one of those lessons. Dobby the Ginny. Then play Errol. So platform 9 3/4 converts his 1 action into 2 actions by discarding a lesson. Now he can Dobby the Ginny back to hand, to stop Frank from finding the combo piece. It's got to be Ginny here. Seamus isn't enough. He already has the extra action. 2 VTJ is already a kill. So you just have to stop him from finding the right piece. Oh no, we bounced at Gringotts? I don't think that was the right call. It's okay, we'll see. And with... Oh, we are going to run out of Steel Claw. Steel Claw. Oh, so maybe. Double Steel Claw is going to be quite a bit of damage. Frank has 2 cards left in his deck. I think he just lost this one. Goodness, yeah, and creatures, man, creatures always very strong against combo because it's that aggro, it's that early damage, it's putting those combo pieces into the discard pile. Frank in a pretty decent position in both of these games as far as lessons, but not as far as the cards in his hand to play off of that lesson power. He just didn't really get any of the deboning stuff going, didn't have time for the VTJs to line up, just didn't quite get there. Stefan able to keep that pressure on him. So it's going to be a nice 2-0 for Creature McGonagall there. And McGonagall Creatures and its many variants, very, very powerful classic deck. So we see Frank doing a cool 3-color twist on the combo deck using McGonagall as well. And I do like this little Quidditch splash to start using the Hufflepuff match just to kind of accelerate the damage we are already doing. So it's pretty neat from both of those players. It was a great game. Great best of 3. Let's see if we've got one of the other rounds going. There are still a couple of minutes, still 20 minutes in the round. Oh, actually, it looks like we will not be switching tables because all of the results are in for round 1. So let's just go ahead and read off the results for you guys. We had that 2-0 Stefan against Frank. We had Mike, looks like he took it against Nick at table 1, 2-0 as well. And Sammy had a 2-1 against Swamin. So that's, man, we had some smashes, but it looks like there was at least a best of 3 going on there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get round 2 paired for these guys. We will have 3 rounds tonight. And I think we're going to actually peek at table 2 this round, just to see 2 different decks. And not jump to the top table every time. Let's get the players up for these guys. Oops, wrong channel. And just for the record, we have a Harry second year deck running around tonight, which means that the player needs to secret away the name of a card at the beginning of the round. And if their opponent plays that card, they get to draw cards, I believe it is. They get a beneficial effect. So for first round, he did choose Steel Claw, expecting that to be a card that sees a lot of play. I think that's a smart choice. I think McGonagall Creatures, as we saw that game, is very powerful, and Steel Claw is a card that you can expect to see. I wonder what he'll pick for game 2. Actually, I'm kind of inclined to go check out that table. So let's go watch table 2. That's going to be Sammy, one of the mainstays here of the Revival community, versus Nick, who's joining us for the first time this week. Always excited to see new players coming into the game, joining us on Tuesdays. And there it is. Table 2 is going up. As soon as they start, I will join. So far we saw 2 McGonagall decks. Is a very, very different builds, though. McGonagall Creatures with Quidditch Splash, and a McGonagall 3-color control list that had the combo at the end. Pretty neat. Probably more combo than control, honestly, although the debonings really get me going. Rev my engine. Okay. Let's see what we have got going on here. Now, here are 2 starting characters that we don't see. Percy Weasley from Sammy. So Percy is at the end of each of your opponent's turns. If he or she played a non-lesson card that turn, he or she takes 1 damage. So just free damage over time. Harry's second year is, like we said at the beginning of the game, they write down the name of a creature, item, or spell card. And if the opponent plays that card, they get to reveal what they wrote down, and then, at the end of that turn, they get to heal 20 cards. That's what it is. Oh, man. That's pretty powerful. They have to play that card, though, so we did choose Steel Claw round 1. Let's see what we chose for round 2. Going with Steel Claw again. Got it. Alright, so Steel Claw it is. We see Percy here, but we don't know what our opponent is playing. We'll see whether or not Steel Claw was a good choice. And I'll be right back really quick, guys, while this game gets going. I'm going to go ahead and get myself a drink. Alright, I'm back. Let's see what we missed. So, it looks like we are playing a nice, slow gentleman's game so far. Both players just developing lessons. we're getting to see a little bit of what we've got in both of these decks. Looks like Quidditch Creatures again. Another Quidditch Creatures deck is a cool combo with Screech Owl. Ooh, on the bottom here. Screech Owl, another card we see too often. That's one that lets you put a lesson card from your discard pile back into your hand, making sure you always have that nice lesson base. And Ropebind, wow, it's that's a good sign for Nick at the top here. That is going to be a nice clean answer to a lot of the little low to the ground creatures, and I'm sure low to the ground creatures will be found in Sammy's deck here. Sammy's deck being Quidditch and creatures without McGonagall, though, makes me think Steel Claw might actually not be another choice that is relevant here. And we are going to go ahead and get out the Slinking Ferret. Slinking Ferret replaces itself when you play it. You just draw a card. Nice effect. Replacement effects are always strong. Any card that lets you find your next best card. The only thing that goes against those cards in this game is the fact that your deck total is also your health pool. So you could look at Slinking Ferret as also dealing yourself a damage. But the goal is to just win before you lose, right? So, hey, if you get to draw cards that help you win before you draw cards to the point where it's a deficit, then it doesn't matter. Striker is going to be getting a fantastic beast, and where to find them? Slam down that marble gargoyle. We've got Into the Spider's Lair coming down for Sammy. The Into the Spider's Lair is going to say before each of your turns, you may show your opponent any number of creature cards from your hand, and they take that much damage. It looks like we showed him. What did we show him? Oh no, he drew this from his deck to discard. Into play. Oh, I guess this is before each of his turns. So we played it, and then we'll get to see at the beginning of his next turn how many creatures he has in his hand. Striker's going up to 6. He's got 6 on the back line here. Marble Gargoyle is a pretty hefty creature. It's not as good when Slinking Ferret's running around because Marble Gargoyle and all of the gargoyles, of course, do more damage if your opponent doesn't have any creatures down. But they're still really, really efficient, powerful bodies. Doxy is a 2-1 here. It's coming down and also can choose a creature and deal 2 damage to it. So the nice combo here is Doxy is going to kill the Slinking Ferret and make it so that next turn the Gargoyle will deal more damage unless Sammy plays a creature. Cool combo. Chances are Sammy probably has a creature just because he's about to show creatures from his hand to deal damage with Into the Spider's Lair. Sure enough, he's showing a Family Ghoul and Delivery Owl. Family Ghoul is a card I know because he was in like the starter decks, so it's a card I remember very well. Looks like Sammy is going to just play. He's going to use an action to draw a card, use an action to play a Quidditch card. He wants to keep a nice large hand size because he wants to have a bunch of creatures to deal that free damage every turn with Into the Spider's Lair. What is the solve on Into the Spider's Lair? Your opponent takes 10 damage. Oh, but your opponent, I think, literally solves it by taking 10 damage, not like over time if they've taken 10, right? All right, we got another gargoyle into play. So, Sammy, it's time to drop a creature. I know you've got him. There it is, the delivery owl. The delivery owl, I can see why we didn't really want to put the delivery owl out, because we only have one carry magical creature lesson, and it discards lesson from play. It does let you draw an extra card before each of your turns, though, which is really, really nice. And of course, for our turn, we did just play the owl and play the creatures. So even though owl isn't a huge creature by itself, the nice thing about this owl is it just took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage away from Nick's board. So Sammy putting this owl out made both of the gargoyles smaller. Now Streeler coming out, and Streeler is another one that deals damage to a creature when it comes in. So this is just that. This is just a mid-range kind of creature hate deck that's going to be good against other creature decks. Looks like Sammy is going to go ahead and get Shooting Star into play. And Shooting Star, of course, lets you use an action and discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards. There's more card advantage stuff. I guess it's not actually card advantage, that's just card quality, right? Because you use an action, which you could use to draw a card, to discard a card and draw a card. So yeah, you're just filtering. Slightly better than using the action just to draw a card, right? Spiral Dive is going to let us choose a number of cards from our hand to discard and deal that much damage to the opponent. It's an interesting card when it's not used as part of a combo, because it sacrifices your card advantage for pretty much the rest of the game to do any kind of meaningful amount of damage. And I think that's just the old, hey, yeah, you win. You know, this is all I had. It's going to be lethal creature damage from Nick, so these guys are going into the next round here, and they kind of know what each other have now. They can plan around the decks a little more. I think a big thing for Sammy is going to be knowing that all that removal on the creatures exists, and to not just play right into it. He's going to want to see a lot more care of magical creatures lessons early too. And he's going to want to make sure that he holds creatures, cheap creatures, because he's going to want to play them to stop the gargoyles from being as effective. Oh, Hagrid needs help. I love this adventure. This is a powerful, powerful adventure. Hagrid needs help says that your opponent gets 1 less action on each of their turns. And the solve is that they have to take 8 damage, and the reward is they can draw 3. So basically, you take away 1 action no matter what, even if they solve it, which they kind of have to do, right? So you take 1 action away from your opponent and deal them 11 for 3. For 2 actions, so it's not bad. Although Sammy's showing there, one of the reasons why him getting that many cards in his hand is actually not that bad for him. But between Spiral Dive and Into the Spider's Lair, he might be able to do a lot of free damage just by having a large hand size. And I don't think that we have anything to... Oh, excuse me, I got hiccups all of a sudden. I don't think we have anything to punish that large hand size. Not that we've seen so far out of Nick's deck, but maybe. Maybe. Gonna be another lesson. 2 charms and 2 care magical creatures. We have something to jam down after that. The Haggard was a good tempo play, but we need to take advantage of that action that we took away from our opponent. Now, how do we get into the Spider's Lair and play? Oh, on a different turn, I guess. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage from Into the Spider's Lair. Just from showing 7 cards in our hand. Like I said, we we might be able to get a lot of that big damage out of that. I was trying to see more of the actions, but it's difficult to scroll up fast. Well, I want to see no actions. There we go. So we're going to play Family Ghoul, which returns one of the creatures in play to our hand. And that's kind of cool because you play Family Ghoul and you get the Slinking Ferret back, and then you play Slinking Ferret and you draw another card, and then you have more cards in your hand for Spiral Dive and for Into the Spider's Lair. Pretty cool synergies on the Sammy's deck here. I like it. I see you, Sammy. I see what you're doing here. Oh, and the double black bat turn from Nick. That's 4 damage to the face. Now Sammy's showing a couple of his cards. He's got the Crazy Capybaras, the Family Ghoul. This is an Into the Spider's Lair trigger. He's showing him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at least, right? Because I know there's another dragon in there. 7 Ghoul, 8 for the dragon. Or is it just 7? 7 damage. So he's doing 7 damage to him there. And why is he shuffling his deck? He's shuffling a lot. Alright, so it's going to be all the damage from these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 4 from the Family Ghouls. Oh, excuse me. That's going to be a lot of damage. So we're going to go ahead and just put out the Ferret. Draw a card to hand. Play the Family Ghoul. And put these cards back in our hand. And all of a sudden, we are starting to get a very, very wide-looking board. That 3 is such a perfect creature curve number 2. I mean, we hit the ferrets, we hit the gargoyles, we hit the Family Ghouls. Sammy's able to play most of his deck off those 3 lessons. It's also why McGonagall is so powerful for creature decks, right? Because 3 is such a good curve for creatures, and McGonagall can drop 2 3-drop creatures on turn 2. It's really, really powerful for her. What to do? I guess Sammy's just keeping the monsters on the field because it's easier than continuously revealing them. We're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 damage ourselves from the black bats of Nyx. Nick has got to either do a lot more damage pretty fast or start removing some of these ghouls, though. It is going to be Lesson and Mandrake for Nick there this turn. Mandrake is a plant. Of course, the plants always do all that fun interactivity. This one is you may use an action card to discard Mandrake from play to put a non-healing character card from your discard pile into your hand. A lot of utility on the different plant cards. Some of them are messing with damage. Some of them are like buffs or make you just gain extra effects. This Mandrake here is like a cool piece of not removal. It's a recursion. Sorry, it's the R word. Wrong R word. And yeah, now Striker going to take all that damage from Into the Spider's Lair plus the 3 family ghouls. Slinking Ferret comes down, draws us another card. We combo another family ghoul into the Slinking Ferret. Or no, it looks like we're done drawing those cards. We're done helping our opponent with the free damage. We're going to play the Slinking Ferret. We're going to drop a Care Magical Creatures. And we're going to say, go ahead. There's got to be a bug or something. I don't know why I keep saying that he shuffles his deck after like every single thing he does. Must be bugged. So yeah, we are going to play Hermione's Note. Hermione's Note, of course, is going to discard the adventure your opponent has played, and you get the reward. So we are going to discard the Into the Spider's Lair, and actually that's going to make... Yeah, Sammy has to discard that card there, right? What's the solve on Into the Spider's Lair? If you have any cards in your hand, you choose one of them and discard it. Okay. That's kind of funny. So he used Hermione's Notes to solve the Into the Spider's Lair, and the solve is actually a punishment on the character who played the adventure. That's so funny. How often does that happen? That's I don't think any other adventure is like that. Maybe there probably is. Somebody's going to be watching this and be like, "Of course there is, John." But no, it looks like Sammy got the old slap clap here back onto Nick. So now that's 1-1. So Sammy got Nick on game 2. Nick got Sammy game 1. And now these guys are going to get into the middle of the Thunderdome, square off, and find out which creature deck will be withstanding at the end of 3 rounds of glorious combat. If you were a betting man, where's your money going? I think my money has to go to Sammy's deck, and this is only because, oh boy, as I say that, an insane opener from Nick. I was going to say, I just think Sammy's deck has a few more ways to do the same thing he's trying to do. There's just more cohesion, right? Like the starting character is dealing 1 damage every turn. The Into the Spider's Lair is dealing free damage every turn. And we have those combos with the family ghouls and the ferrets to kind of just pop off at 3 actions and start getting a lot of advantage. Whereas Nick has just a nice normal curve, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think he just assumes a pretty fair game where you're playing a lot more lessons, and you're not necessarily answering this wide board your opponent's able to create at 3 power. Now, of course, Nick won the first game by leaning into that curve and playing cards that are overall higher power level than what Sammy is going to have access to here. So, it's not that only one way is right. They both have merit. I just think that given enough matches, I think Sammy's deck is going to come out on top here. Just a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more consistent, I think, in getting the same kind of game every turn, or every game, rather. The beginning of this game is looking very familiar, though. Both players are just developing lessons. And honestly, if both players just hang out in this spot and develop for a while, it's better for Nick. But there it is. I was going to say, Sammy is, that 3-drop is that perfect spot. We keep talking about it. Here's the Screech Owl, another 3-drop in his deck. That when you put it, it gets to get a lesson card from the discard pile and put it into your hand. That's not a bad target for the ghouls either, the family ghouls. Short of a ferret, you can go ahead and just bounce the bats. Although once I see this black bat come down, man, family ghoul with black bat would be pretty cool too. So Nick does get up to that 4, drops the black bat, but that's it. Sammy getting the, oh man, some extra lessons to play, getting a Screech Owl down. Back into his hand, and Sammy also is building pretty high on the lessons. Now, we haven't really seen him be able to take advantage of the crazed capybaras. That's a pretty powerful creature card at 7 cost. Ooh, Zigzag going to discard. Zigzag is a non-healing Quidditch card from your discard pile into your hand. Zigzag's good for looping like Quidditch combo, like fouled things, so that you can get to Swallowed Snitch and your match in those Quidditch decks. We've seen a lot of Quidditch decks over the past few weeks in Revival, actually taking advantage of some of those new Revival Quidditch cards. Swallowed Snitch getting a lot of play, though, still. And then Black Bat going back down. Another 2 damage there for Sammy. This is looking pretty familiar, guys. This actually, I could have left the room and come back, and I would think that we froze on game 2 for some reason. We see the Into the Spiders are going to discard. Man, Sammy not having as big of a hand this turn, or this game rather. But it still is a pretty cool part of his deck. It's sad to not see it this game. He's up to 7 lessons though, so I would a double Crazed Capybara turn next turn into something like a Welsh. Using the Bewitching Snowballs on the on these bats can't feel very good. Now Sammy's going to play Hedwig. Hedwig go get us a 7-drop bomb. What's Hedwig going to go get? I would go get a Crazed Capybara. Don't we have them in our hand though? I feel like we were showing them earlier. Oh, we didn't see. It was a Family Ghoul, I think. Oh, Family Ghouling the Hedwig is pretty gross too. Welsh Green Dragon, there it is. Yep, we're going to go ahead and remove 2 of our Magical Creatures lessons from play into the discard pile. Welsh Green Dragon is going to hit our opponent for 6. And now we've got a pretty scary board. I mean, the Black Bats are doing damage, but we need more than Black Bats at this point. And honestly, it might be hard for Nick to have removal for Welsh Green Dragon here, because it does have that high health pool. Oh, as I say that, let me swallow my words. This is Stream of Flames. Oh, no. Man, I saw a 5... Ah! What do you think? 2 Stream of Flames. I was gonna say, when I see a 5-cost spell, I just assume it can kill a creature, man. 2 Stream of Flames. So it's gonna be 6 damage to face and 6 damage to a creature, 6 to Sammy's face, and 6 to the Welsh Green Dragon, taking it out. And man, I'll tell you what, those Charms burn spells might be doing just enough. The fact that we got a 6-6 split on the dragon and the face is pretty strong. Family Ghouls coming down. I imagine Hedwig is going back to the hand. Maybe you return a Screech Owl because you can't play the Hedwig yet, but getting anything from your discard pile just seems too strong. Although we're running out of that kind of time. You know, you want to start playing more bombs, like just more big damage 3 drops and less 1 damage. You know, you don't want to spend another action on a lesson at this point in the game. That's exactly what we're going to do, though. So we're going to play Family Ghoul, bounce the Hedwig, and we're going to play down a Magical Creatures. That's our turn for Sammy. Nick is sitting pretty on 30+ life. And Sammy is in the kill zone below 10. And that is not where you want to be against any kind of creature deck. Oh, God, there's another Burst of Flames. That's 3 more to the face and removal on one of those creatures. And I would be surprised not to see, you know, the old... anybody out there who's watched the Queen's Gambit, like, you've resigned now. You know, that's it. Short of something crazy from Sammy here. Short of, like, a Pomfrey and a full reset. I just don't think it's in the cards, pun intended. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a dropped game 2 here for Sammy. Sammy, Spiral Dive, his last ditch effort. Gonna discard his whole hand and deal 5 to Nick, and Nick, I think, is going to take that one. So what brings us to our third round. Let's see what other results are in. Looks like Frank wrapped up his game. We just wrapped up this game, which means table 1 is still going. We'll pop over and see what's going on at table 1 right after this wraps up here. And you're looking at the field trying to think of a way out if you're Sammy here. Nick's just trying to think of what he could possibly have to stop him. I think these guys probably already reported, honestly, because the spiral dive would have been discarding his hand, right? So I think I'm going to switch table here. That's game. All right, let's see what's going on at table 1 here. I don't know what game this is, but this is this is certainly a late game in this one. Mike has 1 card in his deck. Oh, that had to be the end of that game. I don't know how that just ended. I got there a little bit too late. So, oh, they didn't choose who won either, so this is unable to determine winner. Mike down to 1 card in his deck either meant he just lost there by drawing next turn to start his turn, or he had just won on what was on the board. And I saw enough lessons that anything could have gotten played, but I didn't get there in time to see if it was. So, taking a step back to just analyze the starting characters here, it looks like Mike is on Seamus Finnegan this week versus Stefan, of course, playing that Professor McGonagall deck that we saw round 1. Ooh, nice. Thank you, Mike, for revealing the hand to me. Appreciate that. Oh, we can see right away one of the cards that players... I struggle to use the word complain. I don't want to say complain, but one of the cards that gets talked about whenever there's a classic tournament, right? Pep Talk can feel like a pretty annoying card if you don't have an answer to it in the deck. Pep Talk, of course, is that adventure that says the first action on each of your opponent's turns must be used to draw a card. Yes, that does mean if you are doing anything to restrict the number of actions that they get on that turn, they still have to use their first, even if it's their only action, to draw a card. So this can get very annoying very fast. In order to solve it, the opponent has to show you a card from their hand with a power of 8 or more. And some decks don't even get that high. Some decks just cap out at the 7. Like this Welsh Green Dragon very well may be the highest cost card that is in Stefan's deck. So he does have the McGonagall starter. And McGonagall, of course, look at that. He's using McGonagall right away to get straight out of that Pep Talk because, no sir, I do not want... do not want to deal with that. Solve it before we have to use our first action to do anything. So then we can just play 2 lessons instead. But now, exactly, now we get to drop the Caught by Snape. And we even see in chat, Stefan said, please don't hurt me. Because you know that Pep Talk is bait. Yeah, the Pep Talk is strong. And you know, I say bait, Stefan is sitting here probably watching this video later going, I mean, what was I going to do? Exactly, right? I mean, the Pep Talk is there to... It's just annoying enough that you're going to use McGonagall on it. You're going to give us enough information, right? It's going to be like alright, I don't have a way out. I guess I'll McGonagall that. Boom, Caught by Snape comes down right away. And Caught by Snape, now, we did get to see that card off the top of the deck, so we get to put 2 counters into Caught by Snape. But even now, you know, we solve the next Caught by Snape. God forbid there's another Pep Talk or another Caught by Snape. We just have a lot of information on Mike's side as far as what Stefan is able to solve adventure-wise. So Mike is going to go ahead and play Colin Creevy here, one of Stefan's favorite characters, actually. And Colin Creevy is a perfect combo with that Seamus Finnegan that we see, because he's going to let you draw extra cards, also kind of damage the opponent, which is cool. And he's going to let you refill your hand so you can keep discarding 4 Seamus. So we discarded 2 more, gained an action, played another Transfiguration lesson, because as we see, Michael discarding the Venomous Tentacular Juices, we know that his deck wants to get up to 9 lessons, and he's got a ways to go. Looks like, yeah, on Stefan's turn, we just didn't see any lessons off the top, so it's just going to be draws and passes all the way to the bank. Caught by Snape getting in that work, exactly as much work as it was hoping it would. As we look at the difference here, yeah, Michael's got a lot of utility established on his board. The Colin, the Peeves, and the Seamus are down, and they're ready to go. He's starting to get some lessons in play. But if Stefan finds that next lesson and breaks out of this, he has a ton of action. He's got a lot of lessons down, and he's ready to start popping off. But nope, it's going to be another dead turn as we draw 2 more non-lesson cards. And this is the power of Caught by Snape. Again, another card. This card is one of the things that Revival made sure to ban, huh? I think that Classic revolves a lot around certain power cards. Caught by Snape is one of them. Not saying that Caught by Snape dominates every match, but Caught by Snape is just, it's a part of the kit, right? You can expect to see it. You can expect to play against it. And because it has that level of predictability, you can plan for it, right? And I think failing to plan for Caught by Snape is planning to fail. But when you know it's going to be around, you're rewarded for having things like higher lesson counts or having other things that deal with it. Now, the McGonagall situation is unfortunate, of course, but that's exactly what Mike's looking to do with that early pep talk, is to just stop the McGonagall early and make sure that all of the rest of the adventures are going to have full effect. So Michael's still just doing some build turns here. He's going to play a potion. He's going to gain for Seamus. He's going to play Professor Snape. And it looks like we're actually using an early Snape to heal here. Tapping it sideways does usually indicate that we're healing. I know that we have a lot of the VTJs. I think there's at least 2, maybe 3 of them already in there. We're just going to go ahead and move all 7 of the cards from our discard pile back into the deck. And now if some kind of removal gets used on our Snape, because we know that Stefan, the only removal he could be packing really is Dobbies. I don't think picking on Neville or Scribble4s are finding their way into this list. They could, but I don't think we've seen them yet. So Dobbying that Snape is just going to let Mike use it again. So I think that's a really smart move to just use it right away. Why wait? Maybe potentially get an extra, heal out of it. Make it really less exciting for Stefan to bounce back to the hand. Still providing that lesson for you. Stefan finally finds the lessons that he was looking for. He solves the Caught by Snape. He has an extra one in his pocket for later, and he's able to start playing out some creatures. Marble Gargoyle is what you want. You want to start dropping just the biggest threats you can. Unfortunately, Michael has found his way to the Dobbies, so I think that he's just he's mathing out how many actions he can get this turn. If he discards 2, plays a lesson, and does the Dobby, can he still Cauldron and Ginny? I think he's 1 short of exactly that. So I think that we're going to... Oh, no, never mind. He doesn't have to play a lesson because Snape's out. So yeah, we're just going to start with the Dobby. We're going to Dobby the Gargoyle. Sitting at 2 actions still. We're going to play Ginny. That's 2. Going to gain probably off Seamus. Gain with the 2 transfigurations, play potions, and pass. Ooh. See, now Stefan draws Caught by Snape for turn. Now, it might feel pretty good for Stefan. Like, oh man, Caught by Snape, he's only down to 1 card in his hand. No way. It's a trap. You need to play the Gargoyle and the Black Bat this turn. You want to run out the Marble Gargoyle and the 4-drop Black Bat. You want to put as much pressure down as you can Dobby on the Ginny, probably. Caught by Snape won't be that bad for him, because what he'll do is he'll just he'll Colin through it, even if you return the Ginny. So I like this play by Steven. He's gonna go ahead and just put his Ginny in play instead. Get rid of your Ginny, I'll play my Ginny, because that actually kind of makes it more of a permanent form of removal, since the Ginnies cannot be on the field at the same time. Looks like Michael is going to draw for turn, and then he's going to use Colin Creevey. That's the only way I can see him getting those extra 3 cards. I would like to see the Colin Creevey from Stefan as well, right? He gets to draw 3. What do we, it must be how we drew all those cards, right? We didn't, accidentally Jitty or something, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I was like, show me draw 3. Dobby's disappearance. Oh, it's a Dobby back and forth. Dobby's gonna come down and just return the Ginny, and now we get to Cauldron up. Put ourselves up to 7. That's pretty important. That's them's deboning numbers. Speaking of, there it is. So we Dobby it back, we play the Cauldron, go down to 1, then we play deboning, and we make it so that Stefan can't use actions to play any cards next turn. Now look at the size of his hand. That's all he has to do is play cards. If he's just using those actions to draw cards, it's going to just put him in an even worse position when the inevitable combo comes down. And now Michael's in a situation where, cool, he can't play any cards. Now next turn, I Creevey again. Draw 3 more cards, and I'm going to try and just keep deboning you. I mean, we saw him Snape the debonings and the VTJs and stuff back into the deck. We know that he has every copy of those cards is hanging out in there. Stefan really hasn't been able to deal much damage to start taking pieces out of the deck like we were talking about when we saw that creature deck do very well, or Stefan's, the same creature deck, do very well against Frank's combo deck. So yeah, it looks like Stefan is he's looking at that predicament he's in. He's drawing 1 for turn, then deciding to draw 2 more with his actions. And that's exactly where Mike wants him to be. Mike drawing 1 from his deck, and it's just going to be another Ginny, not what he wants to see. As you see, Stefan, don't hurt me. He's going to go ahead and use Colin to make them both draw 3 more cards. Now, he just gets 2 Dobbies, which isn't what he's looking for. But 2 Dobbies on enough of Stefan's like established board with these lessons, it just puts him back enough more turns that I think it's still a pretty good play. So we do discard, we got the extra action. We play the Ginny, and we're going to pass it there. Hold the Dobbies in the hand. I think that's a little bit dangerous because Dobby's going to come down right now on our self-stirring Cauldron. Again, this is the same thing that happened when we saw that happen to blow up Frank. Yeah. I kind of would have liked... I guess if you Dobby 2 of his lessons, he's still at 4 because he has the McGonagall. So yeah, you're going to take that no matter what. That's going to be happening. You're going to get the Dobby on the Cauldron. Michael's really just trying to hit anything. I mean, he's got plenty of debonings left in the deck. He has more of those combo pieces. But just drawing the Ginnies, the lessons, and those Dobbies wasn't what he was looking for there. Now he's going to draw off of the Ginny, and he finds the Pep Talk. So he's going to play a lesson, gain here to gain an action, and then slam that Pep Talk down. And we know that that puts Stefan straight back into the lock because he used McGonagall to get out the first time, giving us that hard tell that there is no solve. Dobby's disappearance is coming in. We're gonna end up getting both of the Dobbies out. We're gonna Dobby both of those gargoyles back to hand, and now it's gonna be a caught by Snape. Interesting that it's not the. Well, I guess Pep Talk. He still gets to play cards. Caught by Snape. You just want to make sure that he's doing nothing except lessons. I mean, we're looking at the fact that we have the 2 Transfiguration, the Potion, the Snape. We have the Cauldron in hand. We really want to see another potion lesson so we can actually Cauldron. It's 2. Yeah, let's put 2 counters onto the Snape there. 3, 4, 5. Ah, perfect. That's what we wanted. So we play this potion. We Cauldron. There it is. Yeah. You can tell I play with these guys a bit, huh? And now we're going to deboning. Yes. Prevent him from playing cards. Prevent him from doing anything but drawing. And we are looking at the kill shot here. You're going to gain an action and play a Transfiguration. Interesting that we discarded another Transfiguration instead of the Cauldron. I would have discarded the Cauldron, right? Because we're still only at 8. You got to be at 9. Man, I mean, wouldn't it just feel... I mean, I know it's a small chance, but boy, wouldn't it feel bad to miss any kind of lesson off the top. Yeah, deboning, pretty good. Deboning combo with Caught by Snape and Pep Talk. Look at that big old hand size of Stefan's. It's really only going to take one VTJ to get that in there. So, there it is. We see the lesson that we need on McGonagall. There's 2 ways. Oh no, we can't play McGonagall. So yeah, wow, we only hit one out. Man, Michael, we should have kept that Transfiguration lesson. It's okay though. We got there. That's 9. Show him the VTJ. There it is. Good game. And it says great games there, so that's got to be the end of that match. Man, that was a really, that was a pretty close last match there. Michael finally getting it there. GG's to say. The VTJ finally sneaking its way out. And these guys are going to report that's our last game for round 2, and that brings us to round 3, our final round tonight. Like that, pretty much, even though we saw 2 VTJ decks and 2, or actually, what is it, 2 or 3 creature decks? All of these decks are very unique. They're all very different. I love that so far. Very cool to see all these different approaches, these different angles that players are taking on what are some pretty well-known strategies, but what's developing around those strategies and just the different ways they take to get there, the different supports they are using for their strategies are very interesting. Yeah, so it was a 2-1 there for Mike. All right, so we've got the pairings are up for round 3. So as soon as we see table 1 go up, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started, get the finals going. And thanks, I know that there's probably a lot of confused people that come in every time I do this stream, because we stream so much Final Fantasy events on this channel. This is basically the RVA Returners channel for Final Fantasy these days instead of my personal Twitch channel, you know? But this is where, you know, I do my streaming. So, hey, you know, we're running these Harry Potter events. And if you guys are into card games, you're into old, dead card games, you want to give something a shot, I really enjoy exploring these old games with my friends. We like trying to break card games that haven't had any real development in a long time because people just aren't playing them competitively. They're just not exploring them. We found this awesome revival group that is just putting in a lot of work, a lot of passion into the Harry Potter project, just making new cards, just getting the old players together, just creating a community, a space where we can enjoy this card game together. And it's awesome, guys. So really, if you're interested, if anything that you've seen tonight seems even kind of cool, if hearing me ramble about all of these actions and spells and lessons and adventures and counterplay, and if it scratches your card game itch with a little Harry Potter flavor, don't forget to head on over to harrypottertcg.com and join the revival, man. It's we've got a Discord, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a lot of awesome stuff going on. So, all right, let's go to table 1 and check it out. Finals tonight is going to be a matchup that I certainly didn't expect, and nobody expected, I think. Finals is going to be a match between Percy Weasley and Seamus Finnegan. Is going to be the end result of today's tournament. Mike on the bottom playing the Seamus Finnegan combo deck, and Sammy on top playing a Percy Creature Rush with creature cards in hand. Now, I think that there's two different things I want to say right off the bat about Sammy's deck because we saw it in the previous rounds. Sammy is inflating his own hand size often and keeping a large hand size in order to utilize into the Spider's Lair and some of those other things. However, Spiral Dive is a card that he's running in his deck to dump that large hand size, and I think Spiral Dive in a mid-range, just coming down in mid-game here, can be a really, really strategic way to dump the hand prior to the VTJ combo. That all being said, the VTJ combo can still be extremely lethal with very low numbers of cards in hand, and Michael is running things like Colin Creevy, Peeves, and the Dobbies to inflate the hand size of Sammy, but I still think that extra level of counterplay that Sammy has isn't something that the other players necessarily have access to, and it's certainly going to be something that he leans into here. And it is, again, we're going to see the Caught by Snape coming down from Michael. He gets the Ginny out early, gets the lesson down, then develops Caught by Snape into a lesson. And again, that's one of the highlights of Seamus as the starting character. When Seamus is your starting character, they're not ever able to remove him because starting characters kind of can't be interacted with in any way in Classic. And they're very, very difficult to interact with even in Revival. There's only 1 or 2 cards that do anything with them. So Seamus Finnegan is able to make sure that you'll always be able to follow up those 2 action plays, which a lot of other decks can't do without supplemental cards, turns to build to that position, or certain starting characters that discount those types of cards like Ron or Fred and George. Seamus has the advantage of being able to play Ginny Weasley or Caught by Snape and then chase it with a lesson. So even though we're getting this early lockdown on Sammy and kind of dictating how he has to play his early turns, we're still setting up through that. And so we're mitigating some of the downsides of playing an early Caught by Snape if our opponent happens to have the out. So Michael's still setting up just fine through this early aggression, these early heavy action investments he's made. I mean, we're looking at Ginny and Caught by Snape both being in play, and the players are even on actions. Ginny's going to make it so they're even on cards pretty soon. And so just that's showing how much Seamus Finnegan is really just pumping out this action advantage to the point where we've got 4 extra actions sitting on Mike's side of the table, and they're soon going to have the same number of cards in their hands. Mike's just doing a lot more. He's seeing more cards. He's doing more with them. Sammy's going to need to kind of catch up with that speed. And his deck is capable of doing it, but he's going to need to speed up a bit if he wants to make sure that he gets enough of a threat down before Mike is able to start deboning and start stopping the threats and get set up for that VTJ. Mike wants to be sculpting his hand right now to get into a good position. Oh, I'm sorry, I have the names wrong here. Let's go change these names. The top is Sammy, and Mike is on the bottom. Ugh. Couldn't go through one tournament without a hitch, I guess. That's alright. If that's the worst thing that happens to us, we're doing okay. Let's change the names. There we go. That's fixed. Much better. Much better. Yeah, so now we did get to solve the caught by Snape. We're able to finally establish we're starting off with the owls. We want to get owls or slinking ferrets in because we want to be playing the family ghouls and returning cards that give us replacement effects. Unfortunately, in this game, having extra lessons in your hand when lessons aren't what you need to play aren't that effective outside of niche situations like having Seamus Finnegan on the field. Mike has a bunch of cards in hand, and he certainly has a lot of lines, but not sure which way to go. Looks like Pep Talk is going to be the choice. Pep Talk, of course, is that we were talking about this last round. It makes the first action on each of Sammy's turns be used to draw a card, regardless of what Sammy would like to do with that action. And in order to solve it, Sammy has to show him a card from his hand with a high enough cost. I believe it has to be 9 or more. Oh, 8 or more, sorry. And I can't remember. I know that Sammy's playing the Crazed Capybaras, and I know he's playing the Welsh Green Dragons. But I can't remember if he's playing any 8-cost cards, and I think the answer could be no. So Pep Talk might just be inflating his hand, but again, I don't think that Michael is prepared for the spiral dives that could be coming out of his hand. So he does have to be a little bit careful with drawing deep into the deck and keeping a lock up with something like Pep Talk, because Pep Talk doesn't actually stop that second action yet. So it could just be some big damage from things like that. Michael is still plenty far away from that kill zone, though. He doesn't have to be worrying about it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and drop 2 potions. And yeah, again, we just see him building up to 9. That's what the deck has to do. It tries to control the game early so that it's safe to build, then build up and get the combo off. Successfully slowed our opponent down and controlled the early game, moving into a late game control here and getting our own board established. Percy. I wish we had a little counter on Percy that said how much damage he'd done. I would like to know how much passive damage Percy Weasley did in 3 rounds of play tonight. 3 matches, so it's up to 9 games. I'd be curious to know. It is going to be Cauldron coming down, and that's going to put us up to 8. Going to get 2 of those down into the discard pile. Now, I think that, yeah, I was going to say, the only time that you Cauldron that early is if you're in a bad position, you're going to have a lockdown, or you have the win. We got another Cauldron down, so that's still 0 actions used, but we accelerated our lessons by 4. So we just went from 4 to, well, sorry, more than that. Yeah, so now we're at 10. Oh, that's right, we accelerated by 4. Yeah, we went from 6 to 10. We still have 2 actions, though, and that's the scary thing here. We're going to gain with Seamus. We're probably going to use Peeves. So we are deboning first. We still have 2 actions. I would be shocked to not see a Peeves here. Because it doesn't matter how many cards he has. Oh no, we actually did just pass. I mean, you're just looking to draw the VTJs of your mic, right? And look at when you see how many cards he has in his hand, maybe you just don't want to peeves it. I understand that, but I feel like we're just fishing for 2 VTJs at this point. You know, because if he's got 7 cards in his hand post peeves, and you hit him with the combo, he's gonna have to draw 14, and then he's gonna have, you know, what, 21 cards in his hand. Then he's gonna have to draw 42. So that's it. GG. Mike gaining 2 actions. Yep, is going to be VTJ number 1. Go ahead and get your hand and draw twice the number of cards you have in your hand right now. It looks like 14 to me, so I think it's going to be 28 cards. Then Michael's going to use the peeves. Oh no, he has to draw twice the number of cards. He has to draw another 13. Yeah, he didn't draw enough. Yeah, there it is, another 13. Yeah, Venomous Tentacular Juice is truly incredible. What a crazy card. Yeah, so he's going to draw 26 cards. Puts them down to 15 in deck. Now we're going to Peeves. Peeves is going to get rid of all those cards. Make him draw another 7. So then he'll go down to 8 cards in deck. And if Michael hits another VTJ, that's game. These guys will go to game 2. That's how the combo works. Nope, I didn't find a combo piece, so instead I'm just going to use Deboning. Go ahead. Your turn, please. Michael takes 2 damage for Screech Owl. Sammy draws a card for turn and draws a mandatory card off Pep Talk, and he has 1 action to solve this. No, it looks like he's just going to pass because the Deboning doesn't do anything, and there's another VTJ. That's game 1. And that is the combo, guys. That's how it happens, man. And if you don't have the combo pieces, like we were talking about earlier, Venomous Tentacular Juice is only 1 card, and that card is the win con, basically by itself. I mean, this is a list that we see without Dobby's help or any of the charm stuff, which we were showing in round 1. We were talking a little bit more about that angle of the combo. This is showing the, you know, how powerful VTJ is all by itself. Using VTJ against our opponent there, we're able to just use a lot of other control options and transfiguration and, you know, adventures and characters to keep his hand size high, to keep the amount of cards he can play low. That also keeps the hand size high, and then hit him with a combo piece. So even just going into this round 3, you know, we did have 3 undefeateds after the first round because, of course, we have 6 players tonight. The person who got paired down last round lost, which means that Michael is right now currently the only undefeated and looking like he's trying to remain such. Go 3-0 tonight with this deck. Seamus Finnegan, extremely powerful starting character. Honestly surprised to not see more Seamus running around tonight. Certainly a card that people should be thinking of. And it's going to be a Ferret. With our 1 action, we're going to play a Ferret and draw another card replacement effect. Michael's fine with that. Keep that hand size nice and high. Ginny is going to draw a card for a turn. I'm going to slam the Colin Creevy down. Use Colin Creevy's ability. And take 2 damage from the Ferret. Now Sammy's turn. Sammy draws a card. Draws another card for Pep Talk. plays one lesson and passes, and we see that hand slice. Listen to me. We see the hand size slowly inflating. Mike is starting to get the transfiguration that he needs established. And this is rarely where we were talking about last round, him being in that position that he wants to be in. He wants to control the early game, move into a mid-game build, and have that late-game combo finish. So I think he's successfully slowed down and controlled the early game. I mean, look at the amount of cards in Sammy's hand and what he's been able to do with them. Is essentially play one creature and just keep building the lessons. Meanwhile, Michael matching the lessons and has way more utility and a lot more inevitability on his side of the table. It's going to be just another lesson turn for Sammy. And, man, Michael's he's in some pretty easy kill range if he just hits another turn of lesson and then goes into the double Cauldron next turn. That's it. Looks like we are using Colin Creevy. Again, just keep inflating Sammy's hand. Know that he can't dump it. I would be wary of the Spiral Dive. Actually, if Mike doesn't do something to like Peeves Sammy's hand, this Spiral Dive could get lethal. But nope. Oh man, we did have the deboning combo, so we built one more lesson. We cauldroned into 7 lessons here, and then we played deboning. And now Sammy can't dump the hand with Spiral Dive. Now I think the debonings will continue until morale improves, or until we draw the VTJs. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There he goes. We're just going to show him, hey, we're going to 9. We're going to discard 2 cards to gain an action, and I'm going to hit you with a deboning. Yep, there it is. We've seen this song and dance before. That's it. Sammy can't play anything off the deboning turn. He has to just draw a forced card off Pep Talk, pass the turn, VTJ. Let's see him. There's 1. I mean, honestly, I think 1 is enough, right? I think he actually has enough cards in the hand that 1 is... In case he has to draw double the number of cards in his hand. And he has nothing in the discard pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Which means there's 24 cards in his hand. So he has to draw 48 cards. That's it. That's GG. So Michael is going to go ahead and just take that as a quick 2-0. That is a fast ramp, strong early game control into a powerful late game combo. And man, that is VTJ in a nutshell. There's a clinic on Venomous Tentacular Juice for anybody out there who wants to build a combo deck. Seamus is a very strong starter to make sure you always have the extra actions, create a lot of action advantage over your opponent, helps you lock down the early game by being able to establish characters and powerful adventures but still build, because the win con requires so much building. You have to be able to build while you're taking control of the early game. So we establish out this combo here of Ginny, Colin, Seamus, absolutely carrying us through both of these games. And the Pep Talk, locking it down, and then we're getting that combo off. Deboning, also very powerful for buying us that time. So that's going to be the end. That is our finals round tonight, guys. Congrats to Mike winning it 3-0, our first classic event with the Seamus combo deck. And the thing that I think is coolest about this is, even though, you know, we've had the classic stuff get to a point where, you know, we had the Ron deck be very dominant at PAX Unplugged, and we had a ban list created. But I think we're starting to see that cards like Seamus, who, you know, he skirted the ban list. He wasn't even on the radar, really. You know, the Ginny is in here, but short of that, a lot of this stuff is really not even targeted on the ban. I think that the Seamus deck, something like this, VTJ and stuff on the radar. But Seamus, I don't think we had ever seen Seamus really as a starting character either. So it's really neat to see that people are still developing on those ideas. There's still new ideas coming out with these powerful combos. And this could give those Ron decks a run for its money easily. I think there's a lot more space to explore in Classic, and I think as we share information and as we have these events, as we stream these tournaments and we have this you know, commentary over them and things like that, it'll be really neat to see what happens in this space as players get more creative and as players just start trying to beat and build the best decks. So thank you guys so much for joining us for Wizarding Wars number 4. We're going to go ahead and sign off this week. We're going to have the VODs available for you guys. We'll have a little bit of a post, a little write-up on this. And we will be back next Tuesday with another event. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. If you are one of the Final Fantasy fans or just a Snuggsy fan, we'll be on tomorrow night doing our Final Fantasy tournament at 7 o'clock EST. Take care.